Hello! Welcome to a review done by TheCartoonGamer, and today he'll be taking a look at the remake for Battle for Bikini Bottom. But you may be surprised by just what he has to say and what he'll bring up, and it's possible die-hard fans may find what he thinks to be a bit shocking. So buckle up your seats to le monde, because I can assure you,
things are gonna get crazy.
You might already be aware of this, but in case you're not, I've been a SpongeBob fan since the beginning, and of the many video games with his face plastered on them, Battle for Bikini Bottom is among the best. It's not the end-all be-all of 3D platformers, but I've played it countless times and know it like the back of my hand. There are several lines from this game that have found their way into my vault of phrases among family and friends. It's a game I never felt needed to be remade, but when the announcement dropped out of nowhere, I lost my mind. Though as the trailers came out and the release date got ever closer, something wasn't sitting right with me. Everything looked alright, but simply put, things didn't look like they were quite finished. I figured it would look better by the time it came out, but after playing this game, I have to say I wasn't impressed at all. The main positive here is that the game is very pretty. A number of environments have gotten a nice overhaul, and bonus points go to Kelp Forest for actually being visible. There's also a fair amount of upgrades to visual gags and more references to the series. I liked a lot of the artwork they used in the Rock Bottom Museum. Most of these pictures I've seen in other places, like in the SpongeBob game Lights Camera Pants, and I even had a poster of this Venus de Milo SpongeBob back in the day. Still, even though this game is brighter and more vibrant than the original, things can be a little too squeaky clean. Some may find the saturation levels to be a bit much. In fact, in the options menu, that's the only option to tinker with. Animation-wise, things start to get more hit and miss. During dialogue scenes, characters are more expressive and have more animations. I did like how when SpongeBob mentions a stamp collection, he actually pulls out some stamps, though the lip sync is kind of rough. The original game had lip sync that was more puppet-like, but it synced with the dialogue almost perfectly. I noticed this especially with the fish announcer. Perfect lip sync in the original, but here it's more on autopilot. Generally, everything looks okay, but if you know the original like I do, you notice a lot of cut corners. My first inkling of this was with the teleport box. The original had you shake around in the box a bit before jumping out on the other side. Here, characters jump in the box, it fades to black, and then they're in the new area. Sometimes they're still in the box, other times they're not. Attacks and other animations in the original had a real sense of weight, and a great use of sound amplified all the wackiness. But in Rehydrated, it's not done quite as well. The tartar enemies used to be big and clunky, but here they're not quite as threatening, and their sound effects are weaker in comparison too. Monsoon used to tumble and crash down when you killed them, but here they just explode. SpongeBob's head bash move has a nice detail of him grabbing his helmet before coming back down, but it looks and feels stiff, where the older animation had a nice flow. Sandy's lasso used to swing in time with an accompanying sound, and said sound would slow down over time. Rehydrated's animation is out of sync with the sound and has no slowdown effect at all. Not to mention these sections were overall very finicky to play through, and even when new details are added, others are completely missing. When you stun robots with Patrick's slam, stars, wrenches, and little plankton icons circled their heads in the original. Here, there's nothing, and the first time I stunned one, I wasn't sure if I did it right. The gramophone in Patrick's house that played that obnoxious tune, it's not here. Squidward calling you out when you draw a mustache on one of his pictures? Not here either. When grabbing a spatula or one of Patrick's socks, I can hear fireworks, but I don't see any fireworks. Even the bowling minigame in the pier has no video game sound effects when scoring points, or an indication those points add to your shiny object total. I know these are kind of minimal in the grand scheme of things, but am I wrong for thinking they would carry over? If these were here, I wouldn't be bringing them up right now, but I think I know why this is. The original game had a lead animator / director alongside 4 other animators. You know how many Rehydrated had aside from the lead? Just one. I'm not entirely sure how that works for a game like this, but a single animator doesn't seem like enough. And don't get me wrong, the fact that 2 people managed to animate all of this is commendable, but doesn't excuse how rushed the end product looks and feels. Gameplay-wise, Rehydrated plays roughly like the original, but it's not one-to-one. Some segments control a little better, others can feel a little clunkier, and walking with characters felt a lot slower. Anytime walking with with Patrick, I felt like I was going slower than Lightning Larry Luciano. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Boss fights were some of the original game's highlights and is where I really noticed things felt off here. After fighting Robot Sandy, I went back and played the original immediately after, and aside from it playing a little slower, everything else felt much better. King Neptune cheered you on in the background, the fish announcer was ringside, and the way the camera was positioned gave off a better perspective. This goes for Robot Patrick too, and that really bummed me out because he's my favorite boss in the game, but everything menacing about his fight was completely sucked out of it. Animations, sound effects, design, atmosphere, even how Patrick beats his chest is nowhere near as cool as before. And Robo SpongeBob, you know the drill. Stilted movement, pores didn't glow, doesn't knock himself out at the end of a phase, his karate move comes out in the wrong order, and when I went inside his brain, the fish announcer was nowhere to be seen or heard. I wish I could have recorded this myself, but when I tried rematching these bosses, which you could do anytime in the original, it just sent me into their arenas with nothing to do but walk around, except in places where they were supposed to spawn. And in the Robo SpongeBob Gauntlet, while Robo Plankton was still there, all the openings in his brain were closed off, though the cruise bubble didn't seem to care either way. Which leads me into this whole package really. From glitches to pop in to pop out, this is one of the most unpolished games I've played in some time. I've seen people say the pop in only happened in the Switch version. Well, as someone who's got a PS4 Pro, I can tell you it's right here front and center. Having a panning shot of the level landscape when the level is still trying to load everything does not leave a great first impression. Every time you die, the game has to load for 5 to 10 seconds, unlike the original where it was near instant. And anytime I fell into a bottomless pit, it was always a crapshoot whether Hans was gonna grab me in time or not. And I managed to record some wild mishaps that had my jaw on the floor at their worst. I also noticed a fair bit of, well, I'm not sure what the term is, but some things had to be done in a certain way to work. After stunning the G-Love robot with Patrick, you could either throw him or use your belly attack to kill him in the original. In Rehydrated, you can try the belly move all you want, but it will not register. No, you need to throw him because that's what the game told you to do. Same goes for Sandy. Can't just karate chop him, you need to rope him to kill him even when he's distracted. The voice acting here is unchanged from the original, but how it's used is a bit different. In the overworld, the characters speak a little too often. Originally, SpongeBob said things like, "There's nothing like the smell of bubbles in the morning," or "You just met the Sponginator," only when he got a huge combo attack. Here, he says it whenever he darn well pleases, and it got very annoying. Or when SpongeBob enters his attic, he mentions it's where he keeps his comic books in the original just one time. Here, he'll shove that fact down your throat until you leave the place, and it's not uncommon for some layering to occur. This game also uses some scrapped dialogue from the original, which is kinda nice, but most of it is extra quips or alternate takes of stuff. The original voice work is still great, but my personal hope was for a complete redub with the current cast. Tons of other remakes have been doing that these days, and like everyone else, I was hoping Mr. Krabs would have his voice from the show, though I suppose this is a lot quicker. But then you remember the game got a redub in 6 other languages, so I'm of two minds with this information now. I can see genuine love and effort shine through here, but the one thing it clearly didn't get enough of was time, and that fact just blows my mind. The time spanning between Rehydrated and the original is nearly 20 years, and this is a remake of a licensed game. You gotta have a serious pedigree to be dug up like that, and for Nickelodeon, this is like one of 3 games under their belt people still care about, and the only one with this kind of a legacy. I'd think that if you were going to go through the trouble of remaking it, you'd do all you could to improve on the original groundwork. I mean, why else would you remake this? My guess is someone at Nickelodeon or THQ Nordic took a look at the original, saw how popular it was online, and said, "Hey, we can bank on this again, but let's make sure it's done as cheaply and quickly as possible." Now, cut content was promised for this, but it's not that noteworthy. In interviews, Purple Lamp said they made the SpongeBall Arena playable at any time, but it was already like that in the original after the credits rolled. And Robo Squidward, oh, they hyped this up like it was gonna be this big thing. Oh look, we're bringing back Robo Squidward. Robo Squidward is in the game. You don't even get to fight him. Again, did I set my expectations too high? Isn't that the reason we all wanted Robo Squidward in the first place, to fight him one-on-one like the other bosses? To this day, the only way you're gonna get that is by firing up the GBA port of Battle Battle for Bikini Bottom. As for everything else cut content-wise, it's summed up in some island set pieces in the multiplayer. I've really been feeling like the odd one out lately. When the Mewtwo Strikes Back remake came out earlier this year, everybody hated it! But I came out of it really enjoying what they did with it. Meanwhile, with Rehydrated, I came out disappointed, but when I went to see what others thought, the reception was almost entirely positive. No one seemed to be bringing up any of these issues, which is why I felt it necessary to say something. And to those who know me, you know I try to find the positives in just about everything when I can. I was looking forward to this like everyone else, but playing through the first time, I was actively mad. When I wrote down my initial thoughts, they were scathing. Scathing, I tell you. Again, this is a game on the PS4 Pro in the year 2020, a remake featuring one of the most iconic cartoon characters ever. And this is what we got? You can feel however you want about Rehydrated, but I say that aside from the facelift, you'll get more out of this through the original. If this remake did anything for me, it made me appreciate what that game did even more. There's cheat codes to mess with, Easter eggs on certain holidays, and the theater in this game lets you view concept artwork. Here, the theater lets you look at screenshots from 10 in-game areas. I can't think of anything more boring than that, and that alone should show you how rushed this probably was. To the guys at Purple Lamp, I'm not mad at you. I'd like to think you did all you could, but this game should not be in the state that it's in. I really expected better on all fronts, but I guess I'm a loser for that too. On its own, this game isn't awful, it's not the worst thing you'll play, but as a remake, I say it failed. Well, that was a bit of a downer note to end things on, wasn't it? I hope my opinions didn't get you guys into too much of a tizzy. This is just what I personally think. But if you haven't left, I thank you for watching, and if you did like what you saw, feel free to give this video a like, share with a friend, subscribe, check out my social media pages, my Patreon page, all that stuff that I always ramble on about at the end here. And what did you guys think of Rehydrated? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? If you're a fan of the original like I am, what little details did you notice went missing here? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And feel free to check out some of the videos I got on screen. I really enjoyed making them, hopefully you'll enjoy watching them. And with all that said, I will see you guys next time. Later!